Well, welcome back everyone. I've got this milled out for our new bridge that we're going to build today. I hope you guys enjoy this video. We're going to be using some of the milled oak that we made already with the chainsaw mill, along with these cedar beams. And we're replacing the bridge that we tore out previously for a little bit wider construction for the mule to get across, as well as a little more stable. Preserving wood like this has been around for a long time. This is where they have always done it, the old timers, pioneers, etc. If you're going to put something that's going to be touching ground, soaking up water and things like that, and access to bugs, this is a great way to preserve it, and probably the least expensive way. I am just simply going to char that until it turns black. That'll help boil all the sap inside the log, and it will probably extend the use of this by about 10 years or so, I would think. Maybe even longer than that. Boy, the cedar's got a lot of red in it. It's a nice log. The sap's really starting to boil now. We can see right on the end of the log there. That's absolutely what we want. We made it to the build site, guys. What I'm going to do, I'm using 4-inch solid concrete blocks for my beam supports. And I'm going to disturb as little of the ground as I can. That way I don't have a whole bunch of dirt washing down. Get this first block set in here. And since the beams that we have made is all from the same tree, they're different diameters, so I'm not going to attempt to level each concrete block to itself, but the top of the log to each corresponding log. So we'll get this first log set, then we'll set our second one in level and at the right distance, and then our third one. I think it will look fantastic down here. I'm going to try to get it dug in deep enough too, where again I don't have to try to rebuild all of the ramp here. I'm going to try to take as much of this loose dirt back as I can for my block to set on. That way it's not settling in on us. I'm going to have to drop that down just a little bit more. I'm running downhill here, so I'm going to use this lower corner and set the largest of our 3 beams. Again, larger in diameter. And I've dug that back into good solid ground on both sides. And we're going to figure out how we want it to set in here in association with the tree. But I think I'm going to have to bring it out a square here just a little bit with the way I have it dug in. Let's set a beam in here and see what happens. Now this is where our notches that I cut on the bottom side of the beam is going to come in handy, because it locks itself right down on the concrete blocks and makes for a really stable footing. I think we've got our first one set. This was a heavy one too. Our grade's matching real well on both sides. By the time we get our planks up here on top, it's going to be a pretty smooth bridge this time around. I do have a slight slope heading down the hill. I don't want water setting on top of it. And due to the fact that we're dealing with irregular sized lumber, I squared everything up pretty much to the center of the logs themselves. Because if you go corner to corner, it's narrower on this side and larger on this side as far as diameter. So squaring up is a challenge. And I definitely step back and look at it and see how it looks as well. We are definitely solid. And having notched the beams ahead of time for the concrete blocks to set down right here, that really makes this rigid. Got everything set in. I didn't have to disturb the dirt a whole bunch, and I am on solid ground, so this bridge went in more stable than the last bridge did. Now if I was dealing with any kind of current at this point before I started putting my planks down, I would simply drive me some steel fence posts in right here on each corner of the bridge, and then would lash a cable across that and actually tie it down. That way, if water come up and over the bridge, it couldn't float itself away. Because once we get everything tied together, it's going to be much like a raft. But if you're building a bridge like this and need to secure this, you can either use steel fence posts or cut you some more cedar posts and drive them into the ground on each corner and tie it down before you plank it off. It'll be easier that way. I don't have to deal with that. This is just a water runoff about 6 months out of the year. So I have seen water up to about where the bottom of the bridge is when we've had some heavy rain. The rest of it, I don't think it'll float away. Let's plank this thing. Well, we're finally getting to use some of the milled material, so I am happy about that. I'm hoping I've got enough to cover this thing. Boy, this stuff is still heavy too. Now, what I have in the sprayer here is just diesel fuel. Diesel has a lot of oil in it, and since this stuff was just milled a couple weeks ago, I am going to give this a nice coat so that way it'll have something to actually seal the wood up. Then later on, probably next year, I can come back and either do a regular water seal or just simply continue to spray this down with diesel fuel, which is a really good wood sealer. You can also add motor oil to this, probably 2 quarts to a gallon, and make yourself a nice stain. I'm just going to get this guy covered up. That way when I lay these logs down, the underside of them will be coated as well. I'm going to be pretty generous with this stuff. This wood is not cured all the way yet. Again, just milled it last week. So we'll give it a chance to soak up some of this. And even though we charred our beams, I'm going to soak them as well. It really does help. Look how that cedar looks now with a little bit of oil on it. Well, I tell you, a burned finish on something really looks good. I'm just kind of laying these guys out loose. Get everything set in here the way I want it. That really does look neat. It would definitely hold a pickup truck. don't think we could have matched our material any better. That's pretty close. I am going to let this soak in before I actually put the screws in to hold it down, because I want to flip these over one more time and give them another coat of diesel fuel and let it really seal up good. This has just absolutely been a great video to make for you guys, and the chainsaw milling right down to having something now that is functional for our property, and it looks good back here. The rustic look matches our golf course. I'm happy with it. So it's nice to have it wider for the Mule as well. We can go a little faster. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. If you're building a bridge, have fun. This was a great project.